Hello friends, welcome to my channel, and today we are going to discuss about the neuroanatomy of the pons. Before going into the details of the pons, I request all of you to go through the videos on the introduction to the brainstem and the neuroanatomy of the medulla oblongata in detail so that you can understand the concepts of the pons in elaborate way. And we are going to discuss about the pons under following headings. First we will see where it is located in the brainstem and in the postcranial fossa. Then we see its relations, surrounding structures. Then we see the external features of the pons like the junctions it forms with the midbrain and medulla, attachment of cranial nerve, how it forms the floor of the cavity of the fourth ventricle. Then internal features, we are going to see the organization of the grey matter and white matter in the pons at different level, how they are similar and how they are not similar, that we see in the cross sections. And lastly, blood supply with some vascular syndromes. So beginning with the meaning of the pons is bridge, as it connects the midbrain and hindbrain and also connects the cerebellar hemispheres across the median plane. It measures about an inch in length and around 3 cm in the width, so it has more width than the length. So other structures in the human body which have more width than the length are prostate, pituitary and cecum. So pons is one among them, having more width than the length, and it extends from the rostral end of the medulla oblongata to the midbrain. This is the middle part of the brainstem. And when you see the ventral surface of the brainstem here, you can see the three parts, midbrain, pons and medulla, and you can notice that is pons, the widest part of the brainstem, and on the lateral side it is attached to the cerebellar hemispheres via middle cerebellar peduncle. Coming to the relations of the pons, it is located in the postcranial fossa just behind the clivus. So anterior relations of the pons are clivus, that is the bony part formed by the basi sphenoid and basi occiput. Laterally it is connected to cerebellum via middle cerebellar peduncles, and dorsally it forms the upper half of the floor of the fourth ventricle or rhomboid fossa. So the cavity of the fourth ventricle lies between the pons and cerebellum, and pons is connected to cerebellum via the middle cerebellar peduncle, that is highlighted there. And here you can see on the left side, that is the ventral surface of the pons. On the right side you are seeing the dorsal surface forming the part of the floor of the fourth ventricle. So you have seen the lower part of the floor of the fourth ventricle in the medulla. So please go through that video to see the features of that part, whereas the dorsal surface of the pons forms the upper half of the floor of the fourth ventricle or rhomboid fossa. So coming to the ventral surface, as you have seen, ventral surface is convex and it shows following features. First one is sulcus bacellaris, or also called as basilar sulcus, because it lodges the basilar artery formed by two vertebral arteries. That's why it is called as basilar sulcus. Then on either side of the ventral surface you will see middle cerebellar peduncles, and from basilar sulcus you will see faint transverse striations indicating the transverse pathway of pontocerebellar fibers, or you can say cortico-pontocerebellar fibers, fibers coming from the cortex. Some of them end in the pons, and from pons they move to the cerebellum via cortico-pontocerebellar fibers forming transverse striations. And pons is separated from the medulla by a horizontal sulcus anteriorly at the pontomedullary junction, and it has attachments of 6, 7 and 8 cranial nerves on either side from medial to lateral. And lastly it has cerebellopontanangle, which is a common set of acoustic neuroma. Here you can see on the right side, you can see the diagram showing a sulcus there in the middle, that is basilar sulcus. On the left side you can see how the basilar artery is lodging that sulcus. The basilar artery near the junction of pons and midbrain, it gives two arteries, that is PCA, postcerebellar artery, and SCA, superior cerebellar artery. And from the basilar sulcus you can see the faint transverse striations there, and on the lateral aspect you can see the superficial attachment of the two roots of trigeminal nerve, medial small motor root, lateral large sensory root, and at junction with the medulla you can see the attachments of abducent, facial and vestibulocochlear nerve from lateral medial to lateral. The abducent nerves emerges superficially between pons and pyramid. The facial nerve emerges superficially between pons and olive, and more laterally there is origin of this vestibulocochlear nerve. These are all superficial origin. They have deep origin which have scattered nuclei that we will see in the internal features. So coming to the dorsal surface. So dorsal surface, as I already told you, it forms the floor of the fourth ventricle, also called as rhomboid fossa. Does it form the entire floor? No, it forms the upper half of the floor of the fourth ventricle, and it shows this following features: median sulcus, which divides that floor into two halves, and each half again divided into two areas by sulcus limitans, medial area and lateral area. Medial area here in the pons shows the elevation called as facial colliculus, and lateral area is called as vestibular area, as the vestibular nuclei lie beneath it. Here you can see the cavity of the fourth ventricle lying between the pons and cerebellum. So the floor of the fourth ventricle is formed by the dorsal surface of pons and medulla, that you can notice here. And here you can see the fourth ventricle is there. Above it will continue with the cerebral aqueduct of the midbrain, below with the central canal of the medulla. And here a schematic diagram showing the dorsal surface of the entire brainstem. Here you can see the strium medullaris, that is the pontomedullary junction on the dorsal surface. Above lies the pons, below is the medulla. In the upper half you are seeing the triangular dorsal surface of the pons, which is divided into two halves by median sulcus. Each half is again divided into two parts by the sulcus limitans there, and the two areas of the each half are called as medial area and lateral area. In the pons, medial area shows the facial colliculus, abducent nucleus lies beneath it, but surrounded by the motor root of facial nerve. That's why it is called as a facial colliculus. And you can see the lateral area or vestibular area, as it houses the group of vestibular nuclei beneath it. So this is about the ventral surface and dorsal surface. And here you can see the specimen of the brainstem showing the dorsal view. You can notice the diamond shaped floor of the fourth ventricle. Upper half belongs to pons, lower half belongs to medulla. So in the medulla you have seen lower closed part and upper open part. In pons you will see lower open part and upper closed part. So here you can see the median sulcus divides the floor into two halves, and each half again divided into two areas by the sulcus limitans into medial area and lateral area. Medial area in the pons shows the facial colliculus. What lies beneath it? That is abducent nucleus, but surrounded by motor root of facial nerve. And the lateral area is called as vestibular area, housing the vestibular group of nuclei. So this is one more diagram showing the diamond shaped outline of the floor of the fourth ventricle or rhomboid fossa. And here you can see the pons forming the middle part of the brainstem. And as you zoom in here, you will see the pons and medulla below it, midbrain above the pons. Here you can see the left half of the pons. In center you are seeing basilar sulcus with the transverse striations. That is the pons, ventral surface. And above you are seeing the two cerebral peduncles of the midbrain. Below you are seeing pyramid and olive of the medulla, and at the junction you are seeing the superficial origin of the 6, 7 and 8 nerves. And if you isolate this part of the brainstem, here you can see the entire brainstem with cerebellum and the origin of these cranial nerves. So 3 to 8 cranial nerves you are seeing here. That is the oculomotor at junction of pons and midbrain, medial to cerebral peduncles. That is abducent nerve between pyramid and pons, facial nerve between olive and pons, and more laterally you are seeing vestibulocochlear nerve at pontomedullary junction, and that is basilar sulcus lodging the basilar artery. You can see the transverse striations indicating corticopontocerebellar fibers. That is the trigeminal nerve attached to the lateral surface of the pons or lateral aspect of the ventral surface. Lateral large sensory root, medial small motor root. So 5, 6, 7, 8. The only cranial nerve coming from the pons is trigeminal nerve at a junction between the pons and medulla, 6, 7, 8. That is oculomotor nerve, medial to cerebral peduncle. Trochlear nerve coming from the dorsal aspect of the midbrain. You can see that is the trochlear nerve, the only cranial nerve coming from the dorsal side of the brainstem. That is large lateral sensory root, and you can see the small medial motor root will be there. That is the motor root of trigeminal nerve. So you will see all these nerves: abducent nerve between pons and pyramid, facial nerve between pons and olive. You can see here, that is abducent nerve. Sixth nerve, superficial origin, that is facial nerve with nervus intermedius emerging between pons and olive, and more laterally you are seeing vestibulocochlear nerve coming from cerebellopontine angle. That's what is commonly involved in acoustic neuroma. And if you take out, you can see the middle cerebellar peduncle connecting the pons to the cerebellum. So if you take out the cerebellar hemisphere on the dorsal surface, you will notice the cavity of the fourth ventricle. You can see. Now you can see the relations of the pons. Anterior is related to clivus, that is the bony part formed by basi sphenoid and basi occiput, and laterally it is attached to the cerebellum via middle cerebellar peduncle. So you can see posteriorly, you can see the cerebellum. When you see the dorsal view of the pons here, you can see the cavity of the fourth ventricle. One cerebellar hemisphere is removed, and if you remove one more cerebellar hemisphere, you can notice the diamond shaped the floor of fourth ventricle. That is, you can see the intact cerebellar hemisphere, and now you can notice the dorsal view of the pons and medulla, that is median sulcus. First you see the outline here, diamond shaped outline of the rhomboid fossa with the middle cerebral peduncle on either side, that is median sulcus, dividing into two halves, and each half is further divided again two areas by sulcus limitans into medial area and lateral area. In the medial area you will see facial colliculus. Lateral area is called as vestibular area, housing the vestibular nucleus. So this is about the external features of the pons. Coming to the internal features, the organization of white matter and grey matter in the pons can be studied in detail by taking the cross sections at two levels. One at the lower open part at the level of facial colliculus, and one at the upper closed part at the level of principal sensory nucleus of trigeminal nerve. So the organization of grey matter and white matter is studied, and we also see what is similar at both levels and what is not similar at both levels. So when you see the cross section of the pons from left to right, you are seeing the below upwards cross section of the pons. So extreme left you are seeing the lower open part, in the middle part you are seeing the middle part of the pons, and in the right side you are seeing the upper closed part of the pons. So internal structure of the pons in the cross section, it has two parts, that is ventral basilar part which remains uniform at both levels, that is one at the level of facial colliculus, another at the level of principal sensory nucleus of trigeminal nerve. And then you will see dorsal tegmental part which varies in some features at both levels, and each basilar part or tegmental part, they have grey matter and white matter. Coming to this basilar part, it shows three sets of structures, that is longitudinal fibers, white matter, corticospinal, corticobulbar and corticopontine fibers descending from cortex to spinal cord, medulla and pons, and transverse fibers which give rise to transverse striations, which we have discussed during the external features. They are nothing but corticopontocerebellar fibers. The fibers coming from the cortex, they end in nuclei pontis, grey matter of the basilar part, and from that the axons are derived and they are called as pontocerebellar fibers. They enter into the pons via middle cerebellar peduncle lying on the lateral part of the ventral surface, which also we have discussed in the external features. So basilar part has two sets of white matter, longitudinal fibers and transverse fibers, and grey matter in the form of pontine nuclei. Here you can see in this cross section a dark line is demarcating the ventral basilar part and dorsal tegmental part. In the ventral basilar part you are seeing the pontine nuclei and transverse fibers and longitudinal fibers, whereas the dorsal tegmental part, it differs in upper and lower parts, whereas ventral basilar part remains uniform throughout the pons. Here you can see one more cross section showing pontine nuclei and cavity of the fourth ventricle. The tegmental part also has the parts of grey matter and white matter. Here the white matter consists of number of ascending and descending fibers in the form of lemnisci, decussation of trapezoid body. Grey matter consists of the nuclei of trigeminal, abducent, facial and vestibulocochlear nerves, and also pontine part of reticular formation, superior olivary nuclear complex and nucleus of trapezoid body. These all form the grey matter of the tegmental part, and tegmental part can be divided into caudal and rostral, that is one at the level of facial colliculus, one at the level of principal sensory nucleus of trigeminal nerve respectively. So here you can see the dorsal tegmental part, you can see those black circles denoting the necklace-like arrangement of the lemnisci from medial to lateral. You have medial lemniscus, spinal lemniscus, trigeminal lemniscus and lateral lemniscus, and also from dorsal to ventral you have MTR, medial longitudinal fasciculus, tectospinal tract, rubrospinal tract, and in the core of tegmentum you will see all of these nuclei, that is abducent nucleus, motor nucleus of facial nerve, and superior salivatory nucleus, lacrimatory nucleus, spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve, superior olivary nuclear complex and trapezoid nucleus. Whereas at the upper level you again see the same white matter here, MTR and necklace of lemnisci, but the cranial nerve nuclei differ here, and the abducent nuclei, facial nerve nuclei and vestibular cochlear nuclei are not visible here. What you see here is the motor nucleus of trigeminal nerve and principal sensory nucleus of trigeminal nerve. So the pons houses the nuclei of 5, 6, 7 and 8 cranial nerves. Not only these cranial nerve, it also houses the nuclei of superior olivary nuclear complex and the nucleus of corpus trapezoidum or trapezoid body, along with some this secutomotor nuclei like superior salivatory nucleus and lacrimatory nucleus. So first we will see the cross section at the level of facial colliculus, And first we'll see the organization of white matter at this level from ventral to dorsal aspect. It shows the trapezoid decussation, that is formed by the fibers coming from the cochlear nuclei, and trapezoid body and decussation is a part of auditory pathway or hearing pathway. And on either side you will see necklace of these four lemnisci, medial, trigeminal, spinal, and lateral, dorsolateral to trapezoid decussation. Trapezoid decussation lies in the median plane, just at the junction of basilar part and tegmental part. And you will see central tegmental tract, which connects the red nucleus in the midbrain to the inferior olivary nucleus in the medulla. It is a part of extrapyramidal system. So red nucleus monitors the cerebellar activities. And you will see the MTR, that is the dorsal to ventral. Here we are seeing ventral to dorsal, tectospinal tract, robospinal tract, and medial longitudinal fasciculus. You can see there. You can see that is medial lemniscus. In front of it lies the trapezoid decussation. Then you are seeing the spinal lemniscus, trigeminal lemniscus, and lateral lemniscus. And from dorsal to ventral you are seeing in the midline, in the median plane, MTR, that is medial longitudinal fasciculus, tectospinal tract, and robrospinal tract. So the trapezoid body is formed by the decussation of the ventral acoustic striae, that is derived from the cochlear nuclei, and forms the part of the auditory pathway, which ends in the medial geniculate body of the thalamus for sensory relay to the auditory cortex. Whereas the medial lemniscus, which we have discussed in the medulla also, it carries the fibers of nucleus gracilis and nucleus cuneatus, carrying the sensation of the touch, pressure, and vibration from both upper limb and lower limb, upper and lower part of the trunk. They rotate as they ascend from sagittal to coronal plane. In medulla they were arranged in the sagittal plane, in pons they are in coronal plane, and finally they end in ventral posterolateral nuclei of thalamus for further relay. And lateral to medial lemniscus you have trigeminal lemniscus, formed by the second order neurons of the contralateral spinal nucleus and principal sensory nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, and end in ventral posteromedial nucleus of the thalamus for further relay into the area number 312. So the spinal nucleus carries the pain and temperature from the face and the forehead, whereas principal sensory nucleus carries this touch, pressure, and vibration from the face and the forehead. Spinal lemniscus is formed by the upward continuation of the lateral spinothalamic tract, carrying the pain and temperature from the contralateral side of the body, and it also ends in ventral posterolateral nucleus of thalamus for further relay into the sensory cortex. In this picture you can notice how the lateral spinothalamic tract carrying the pain and temperature cross at the level of spinal cord, comes to the opposite side and ascends in the spinal cord and medulla as lateral spinothalamic tract, whereas in the upper part of the medulla it forms the spinal lemniscus, which will be continued in the pons as well. So you can see the lateral lemniscus, it is a part of the auditory pathway, so it should receive the fibers from the cochlear nucleus, that is in the form of intermediate and dorsal acoustic striae, from opposite to ventral and dorsal cochlear nuclei, which act as second order neurons. Then also receive fibers from the trapezoid nucleus and superior olivary nucleus, which act as third order neurons and end in medial geniculate body. So lateral lemniscus carries both second order neurons and third order neurons, which will end in the inferior colliculus of the midbrain for further relay. Central tegmental tract, it is found in the core of the tegmentum. It connects the red nucleus and periaqueductal grey matter of the midbrain to the inferior olivary nucleus present in the medulla, and it gives rise to this inferior olivary nucleus gives rise to the climbing fibers which connect it to cerebellum. So central tegmental tract connects red nucleus with the cerebellum via inferior olivary nucleus for the monitoring of red nucleus over cerebellar activities. You can see there the red colored area is this central tegmental tract. Tectospinal tract, the name itself says, it connects the tectum with the spinal cord. Tectum is observed in the midbrain, that is, it connects the superior colliculus of the midbrain with the spinal cord, and it crosses in the midbrain and goes to the opposite side and ends in the anterior funiculus of the spinal cord and establish spino-visual reflex. Like you are sitting on a chair and somebody comes and touches you from behind, your eyes will suddenly locate the site of that touch or pressure or pain, anything. That is spino-visual reflex. Reflex localization of the site of exteroceptive sensation by vision is called as spino-visual reflex. It is nothing but in simple terms, your eyes will look for the site of pain, temperature or pressure, vibration through this tectospinal tract. You can see the location there. It is located just in front of the medial longitudinal fasciculus in the median plane. So median longitudinal fasciculus, what is it? It lies close to the midline in the tegmentum and formed by crossed and uncrossed ascending and descending fibers of vestibular nuclei and establish connection between the ocular muscles and muscles of head and neck. Which cranial nerves supply ocular muscles? 3, 4 and 6, oculomotor, trochlear and abducent. And which cranial nerve supplies the muscles of head and neck? That is spinal accessory nerve and also these facial nerves. So this medial longitudinal fasciculus act as a communicator between the vestibular nuclei, oculomotor nuclei, trochlear nuclei, abducent nuclei, facial nuclei and spinal accessory nuclei or supraspinal nucleus, so that it will help in the balance of or equilibrium. So there will be reflex between the head and neck muscles and eyeball muscles for the purpose of balance and equilibrium. You can see there, that is how it connects. You can see the on the left side you are seeing the vestibular apparatus and vestibular nuclei below and how they are connected to ocular muscles and head and neck muscles. And coming to the grey matter at the level of facial colliculus, what do you see? Superior olivary complex, trapezoid nucleus, motor nucleus of facial nerve, superior salivatory nucleus, nucleus of tractus solitarius, nucleus of the spinal tract of trigeminal nerve, abducent nuclei, vestibular and cochlear nuclei. So these are some of the grey matters present at the level of facial colliculus. You can see here, this is the cross section at the level of facial colliculus. First we will see superior olivary nuclear complex. It just lies behind the trapezoid decussation and it contains the corpus trapezoidum medially and the entire complex lies laterally. It has 3 sets of nucleus, that is principal olivar nucleus, exterior olivar nucleus medially and retro-olivar nucleus dorsal to the principal nucleus. And it carries the fibers of the same side and opposite side from the ventral cochlear nuclei. That means it is a part of artery pathway and it forms the trapezoid body after the decussation and terminate in trapezoid nucleus and principal olivar nucleus and ascend in lateral lemniscus that we have already discussed. So here you can see the blue colored masses there, superior olivar complex, they receive fibers from the cochlea there and they give fibers to the trapezoid nucleus, they decussate and ascend in the lateral lemnisci. You can see here the lateral lemniscus is there. You can see superior olivary complex receiving fibers from the same side and opposite cochlear nuclei and it gives fibers to the same side and opposite lateral lemnisci. When they decussate they form trapezoid body. You can see there. Different from the trapezoid nucleus and olivary complex ascend in lateral lemniscus, which ascend in the tegmentum of the midbrain and end in the inferior colliculus for reflex response. Coming to the motor nucleus of facial nerve, It belongs to the branchiomotor column and supplies the muscles developed by second arch that you see there, and it lies ventrolateral to the abducent nuclei. You can notice here that is the motor nucleus of facial nerve, that is abducent nucleus just beneath the facial colliculus, and that is spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve. See these roots, motor roots of facial nerve, they wind across the abducent nerve because of the neurobiotaxis. The motor nucleus of facial nerves initially was dorsal to the abducent nucleus, but it comes to the ventral side because of the neurobiotaxis. Neurobiotaxis is the phenomenon where the motor nucleus moves towards the sensory nucleus for quicker reflex response, that it moves towards the spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve, which carries pain and temperature from the face and forehead. So the motor nucleus supplying the muscles of the face moves towards the spinal nucleus for quicker reflex response. This phenomenon is called as neurobiotaxis. And next, coming to the suprasalivatory nucleus and lacrimator nucleus, that they are marked with the red circles there and lie dorsal and caudal to the motor nucleus of facial nerve, and they belong to visceromotor column, supplies the preganglionic secretomotor parasympathetic fibers to the submandibular, sublingual glands via submandibular ganglion, whereas lacrimal, nasal and palatine glands via pterygopalatine ganglion. And nucleus of tractus solitarius, which we have seen in the medulla also, it extends from the upper part of the medulla to the lower part of pons. It lies dorsolateral to facial nucleus. It belongs to special visceral afferent column, and it receives the taste fibers from facial nerve, glossopharyngeal nerve and vagus nerve, from the tongue and soft palate via facial nerve, and posterior one of tongue via glossopharyngeal, posterior most part of the tongue and oropharynx by the vagus nerve. You can see now, that is the green colored structure is nucleus of tractus solitarius, receiving fibers from 9, 10 and 7 nerves. You can remember nucleus of tractus solitarius, NTS, it receives the taste fibers from 9, 10, 7 cranial nerves, and it relates to the ventral posteromedial nucleus of thalamus. So you can see here the supraolveolar nuclear complex is there, and you can see lacrimator nucleus and suprasalivatory nucleus, and how it carries the taste fibers from tongue, palate and also oropharynx. And spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve, it lies in the core of the caudal tegmental part of the pons and belongs to general somatic efferent column. It carries the pain and temperature from the trigeminal nerve and also some exoceptive sensation from the vagus, pharyngeal and possibly facial nerve. So you can see here the three parts of the trigeminal nuclei: mesencephalic, principal sensory and spinal. Spinal nucleus is present in the medulla and lower part of pons, carrying pain and temperature. Principal sensory nucleus in the upper part of pons, carrying the proprioception, or there is a touch of pressure vibration. Proprioception is by the mesencephalic nucleus in the midbrain. Coming to the abducent nucleus, it just lies beneath the floor of the fourth ventricle, beneath facial colliculus, on either side of the median sulcus and medial side of the sulcus limitans. It belongs to somatic efferent column and supplies only one muscle, that is the lateral rectus, which is involved in the abduction of the eyeball. That's why it is called as abducent nerve, because it is involved in the abduction of the eyeball. You can see there, abducent nerve, and that is the abducent nucleus. You can see here abducent nucleus and motor nucleus of facial nerve there. Coming to the vestibular nuclei, they lie beneath the lateral area or vestibular area lying lateral to the sulcus limitans. It consists of 4 nuclear muscles, medial, lateral, superior and inferior, and nuclei here are arranged into 2 longitudinal columns, medial and lateral. Within the lateral area, medial and lateral longitudinal columns. You can see there, that is the lateral area or vestibular area. And here you can see the lateral nucleus, the medial nucleus, superior nucleus and inferior nucleus. On the left side you can see the diagram designating the locations of all these 4 vestibular nuclei. Coming to the cochlear nucleus, they lie on the either side of the middle cerebral peduncle, not inferior here, sorry. They lie on either side of the middle cerebral peduncle at pontomedullary junction, that is ventral cochlear nucleus, dorsal cochlear nucleus, and they give fibers to the superior nuclear complex and trapezoid nucleus, and second order and third order neurons ascend in lateral lemniscus. Then coming to the cross section at the upper pons, at this level the pons enclose the cavity of the fourth ventricle. So anteriorly you have floor of the fourth ventricle, posteriorly superior medullary velum. On either side you are seeing superior cerebral peduncle which connects the midbrain with the cerebellum. Whereas basilar part remains same here as we have seen in the cross section at facial colliculus, but tegmental part shows some changes. You can see here basilar part has both longitudinal fibers and transverse fibers along with the pontine nuclei, and you can see the trapezoid decussation, trapezoid body and necklace arrangement of 4 lemniscus, MTR are there. But what is missing here is abducent nuclei, motor nucleus of facial nerve, suprasalivatory nucleus, lacrimotory nucleus, superior olivary complex and spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve, vestibular nuclei and cochlear nuclei. So what you see here is 2 nuclei, that is motor nucleus of trigeminal nerve and principal sensory nucleus of trigeminal nerve. You can see this is a cross section at that level, upper part. So tegmental part is nothing but rostral continuation of the lower pons. It has same ascending and descending fibers as you have seen at the level of facial colliculus. Abducent facial and vestibular cochlear nerve are missing here, components are missing. But what you see here is motor and principal sensory nucleus of trigeminal nerve are appearing here. So you can see there medial motor and lateral large sensory. You can see on the extreme right side you are seeing how it is enclosing the cavity of the fourth ventricle. Coming to the motor nucleus of trigeminal nerve, it lies in the deep part of the floor of the fourth ventricle and it belongs to branchiomotor column. The fibers transverse ventrolaterally and emerge through motor root, and it supplies the muscles of first arch, that is all the masticatory muscle, mylohyoid muscle, tensor palpi, tensor tympani and anterior belly of digastric are supported by mandibular division of trigeminal nerve via motor nuclei. You can see there the 3 sensory nucleus there. Below spinal nucleus, the blue colored is principal sensory, the orange one is the mesencephalic nucleus of trigeminal nerve, and in the pink color what you are seeing is motor nucleus. So principal sensory nucleus, it lies lateral to the motor nucleus and larger, and above it will continue as mesencephalic nucleus, below it will continue as spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve, receives the fibers of trigeminal ganglion, represent the second order neurons of trigeminal pathway and concerned with these general sensations, tactile and pressure sensations, whereas spinal nucleus is carrying the pain and temperature, mesencephalic nucleus carries the proprioception. And here you can see the cross section of the upper pons shows the same features. And lastly, coming to the blood supply, as we have already seen, the basilar artery in the basilar sulcus of the ventral surface of the pons gives rise to numerous short paramedian and circumferential branches, also known as pontine branches, whereas laterally they are supported by anterior inferior cerebellar artery, that is branch of the basilar artery. Coming to the ventral pontine syndromes, first one is Raynaud syndrome, it is due to the involvement of the short pontine or paramedian and circumferential branch of the basilar artery. They involve the abducent nuclei lying in the median plane, because it is the only nuclei lying in the median plane belonging to the general somatic efferent column. So there will be involvement of the same side abducent nerve and corticospinal tract leading to contralateral hemiplegia. That's why Raynaud syndrome is also called as alternating abducent hemiplegia. There will be ipsilateral lateral rectus palsy and contralateral hemiplegia sparing the face, because the hemiplegia is due to involvement of corticospinal tract. So face and forehead are spared because they are by the trigeminal nuclei which lie more laterally in the core of the tegmentum. One more ventral pontine syndrome is Millard-Gubler syndrome. Here there is involvement of facial nerve on the same side and corticospinal tract causing opposite side hemiplegia. You can also call it as alternating facial hemiplegia. So contralateral hemiplegia is due to pyramidal tract involvement, and same side facial palsy. Lateral pontine syndrome, it involves the trigeminal nerve and pyramidal tract. As we have seen, the superficial version of trigeminal nerve is on the lateral side of the ventral surface. It results in the alternating trigeminal hemiplegia. It involves ipsilateral absence of the all general sensation of the face and forehead, and lower motor neuron paralysis of the masticatory muscle because of the involvement of motor nuclei of trigeminal nerve with contralateral hemiplegia due to involvement of corticospinal tract. So friends, this is in detail about the features of the pons at both levels, external features, internal features and its relations. Thank you for watching. Please provide your genuine opinion and feedback to improve further. Thank you.